Nonsense.
Hey guys, have you ever had a Nutty Buddy cream pie? That sounds really good.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you did, you know, when you dated black guys.
Oh my god! I'm literally. Oh my god!
You brought it up. You said cream pie.
No! Oh,
Just straight into that one.
Nah, you knew exactly what was gonna happen. You knew where you were.
I knew. I've never seen these before.
I gotta mute my mic.
Lavistro rants, lava flows, burning truth, the dragon knows. Getting sins he won't let slide. He breathes the heat, no place to hide. Lavistro rants, lava flows, burning truth, the dragon knows. Getting sins he won't let slide. He breathes the heat, no place to hide. Loot boxes stack like towers of greed. Promises broken, they never concede. Pixelated lies they sell for gold. The dragon's rage too hot to hold. He speaks for the lost, the gamers betrayed. No respawn here, no debts repaid. Lavistro rants, lava flows, burning truths the dragon knows. Gaming sins he won't let slide. He breathes the heat, no place to hide. Lavistro rants, lava flows, burning truths the dragon knows. Gaming sins he won't let slide. He breathes the heat, no place to hide. Pawns in a system, glitching away. He's the boss fight you can't escape today. Breathing fire, pixels ignite. In his lair, he sets it right. Lavistro rants, lava flows, burning truth the dragon knows. Gaming sins he won't let slide. He breathes the heat, no place to hide. Lavistro rants, lava flows, burning truth the dragon knows. Gaming sins he won't let slide. He breathes the heat, no place to hide.
There we go. Mic check. Stupid mic. And we're live, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. It is Lavistro, the Dragon of Cyberspace, coming to you with all news, tips, and tricks within the gaming spectrum. Before I welcome the chat and get into everything, I'm going to say we were going to do Duke Nukem today, but I was making a video based on my conversation with PickAx Social, and it wasn't something I could just easily do because I tried to make a rule of doing it within 10 minutes or less. They actually followed me after I posted I was making this video out and retweeted and hearted it on X for Totally Not Lavistro. I don't think they're going to like what I have to say. I hope they do. They were very respectful, and I'm going to be respectful back while giving my thoughts on the conversation. So that being said, what we're going to be talking about here is free speech, what it means in the context of the law, what the free speech platforms say it is, and by no means am I attacking any of them. It is an honest critique of free speech. So if you're a corporal bootlicker who's going to say, leave Daddy Corporal alone, this probably isn't the place for you. I'm sorry. I do think that we need to have competition in our social platforms. And I think that PickAx has answered my questions rather professionally. And I've been very honest with them as well. And while I did say if they convinced me I would do the ad, they didn't convince me and say to do the ad, but they did convince me to say to make a video based on my thoughts on the conversations. and I'm going to make sure I do so in the same honest and cordial manner as well. That being said, we did have some people posting in the chats. We do have David Chin saying, let's go. Unfortunately, I did not have Social Stream Ninja up and running when that happened, so I do apologize on that. But we also have Nishi Does Gaming. Hello, Nishi. By the way, I gave you a follow on YouTube, so now you have 11 subscribers. Actually, did I? Oh, I didn't copy the link. Hold on. Give me a sec. We're doing this live, ladies and gentlemen. We're doing this live. She's a gamer from Australia. And I believe I saw her on Comics Queen's channel. So, that being said, just want to give her a little shout out. And yeah, go follow her. Go follow another gamer. If you like gaming, you know, go follow her. Here's the links and the YouTubes. And Nishi, if you're following me on Rumble, I think you can post your own link, but for Rumble, I don't want to do it live. But for the Rumble people as well. Well, there we go. So yeah. So to clarify what's going on here, in the Rumble Creator Program, we had to give 5 ad reads throughout the month. Now, some people balk because they don't want to give ads. Some people say, you know, technically Rumble Rumble Premium members have paid not to have ads read to them, and it's kind of hypocritical that we have to read ads. Some people are saying, you know, stop complaining, just fucking read the fucking ads. Some people made some very valid points that Rumble needs to make money. They are a corpo. Yes, they are. They are a business at the end of the day, and people like myself are the product. So we have to read them. My stance on the ads is I don't want to tell y'all go do this, go do that with my name attached to it if it's a scam or a fraudulent thing or stuff like that. Plus, some of the ads, well, none of y'all are fishermen. But I did read an ad last night because I had 10 viewers. One of the ads that popped out that seemed odd to me was PickAx, a new platform that says they don't have bots, they're a free speech platform, all that lovely stuff, right? And we are going to get into that today. So I'm going to make this perfectly stated announcement that I'm not telling you to go make a channel. This is not an ad for. This is just my thoughts based on a conversation, and letting you make up your own decisions on that. So, anyways, let's start with how this all started. As we all know, a few years ago, Facebook and X, back during the Dorsey days, decided to censor content creators, censor people who had wrong thing or who said things they didn't like. If you said there was 2 genders, you couldn't, you know, they would censor you for that. If you were posting something they arbitrarily they disagreed with, you would get banned on Facebook. I've been in Facebook jail several times before I was Lavistro, right? And sorry for the black screen. I'm trying to hide the screen until we get there. But then we had a lot of different, shall we say, platforms pop out. And one of the popular ones that I recall that I was on before it was popular was Parler. And Parler started taking Twitter's lunch. And what did Twitter do? Again, this is before Elon came in. Twitter managed to get the government to shut them down. Corporate espionage, corporate rivalry, whatever you want to call it. Basically, a corpo shut down someone who was threatening them. And what did Parler have? Well, Parler is still around. I'm going to say that right now. Parler is still around. This is their terms of service. Actually, I may have zoomed that too much in. Yeah, I can't scroll up anymore. But this is, yeah, here we go. Parler's terms of service. And it was modified this year, so they're still around. And what I want to put in there is is under terms of service, you have to be at least 18 years old, so you have to be an adult. You have to be legally allowed to use the services where you live. You know, so they you have not been banned from Parler from using the service. So you have to come there with good intentions, right? Everyone comes to a social media platform with good intentions. We all want to have a voice. And one of the things I want to put in here, point out here is any content you post to services must satisfy the following criteria. They're like whatever you say and do. These are the restrictions you have. And you affirm that any content posted, submitted, or otherwise provided to you by the service satisfies these criteria. You have the legal right to post the content to the services. So, for example, you can't plagiarize someone else's work, right? Plagiarism, you can get sued for that. That's not free speech. The content and purpose for posting it complies with all laws, rules, and regulations that may apply. So, laws in your host region, city, state, country, whatever. Right? You can't post anything that would violate the laws of your area. The content does not infringe on the intellectual properties of others. So again, no, it's copyright laws. So if you're posting something that's not yours, you can't do that. And the content does not include non-public, personal, private information belonging to someone else, such as person's birth date, home address, or telephone number. That's literally like, the right to privacy. They also point in here that you can't post obscenity like prohibited content. Users may not upload or distribute content that involves the exploitation of minors, images, videos, text, which is literally illegal. Oh, we just had a boop boop. Oh, we had the Goon Room. Hello, aka Mikey. Mikey Doucette, which, God, that's probably why. Chat overlay, why are you not working? There we go. Hello, Mikey, aka Goon. One of my friends, you saw him in the video as well. We sometimes agree and disagree on a lot of things, but we both had this same thought process about free speech. So, hello, Mikey. So basically, everyone can agree that we shouldn't be posting that stuff about, kids. Any user found engaging in this type of activity with their accounts permanently terminated may be reported to appropriate law enforcement authorities. Right? I'll tell you what they use. They use an automated detection tool. So basically a bot / AI system, which doesn't get everything right. Let's just put that out there. I'm a big proponent if we're going to use AI or bots, it needs an AI human counterpart. So AI discovers it, and the human has to make the decision, and that human needs training on proper guidelines and all this stuff, what's okay and what's not okay. Parler cooperates with law enforcement agencies. But there you go. I mean, that's Parler's terms of service. It's short, sweet. Yeah, we'll get into that, Mikey. We'll get into that. But so there is. It's a short, sweet, simple, to the point terms of service for the most part. Right? You can go look this up. You can go look up Google Parler terms of service, PARLER. I haven't had an account since they got shut down. I didn't even know they came back up. But I was using Parler before it was the in thing. Why am I mentioning Parler? Well, like I said, if you notice, people were trying to look for free speech alternatives. They want to be able to express their voice and not have to censor it, like I just did when I try to avoid saying certain words because I'm on YouTube, and I'm also on Rumble, and Rumble has its own policy issues. But let's speaking of Rumble, let's go ahead and talk about Rumble. Everyone knows Rumble, right? This is from 2022. Um, and Rumble says, thank you, Dan Scavino. It's an honor for Rumble and Rumble Cloud to be part of the history of it to enable free speech around the globe. But what is free speech? Rumble wasn't the first to do this. Obviously a parlor, and we have other areas. We have Gettr, we have Gab, we have True Social. All right, and I'm not going to sit here and criticize every last one, but I'm going to notice and ask the question: how much free speech are they truly free speech? For example, Rumble is not completely free speech. They even say here, this is a letter to the House government. My name is Chris Pizolki. I'm the chairman and CEO of Rumble. I found it as a platform for small and video content creators to express their opinions, their own narratives, build communities, and earn from their creations. And for the most part, Rumble does that. Okay, I'm sorry I had to zoom it in because I'm trying to keep things in the context here. But in this letter, they're pretty much trying to explain human rights and free speech, right? That their stance on it. But if we look at this is Rumble's terms of service, okay? Rumble is an open source content. This is a very popular article. A lot of people covered it before I was content creating. It's their open source / proposed rules on Rumble. All right. From June 16th, 2022. During this time period, during that 2022, a lot of people have made their content, they're trying to advertise a free speech platform. And we're gonna hear it from the CEO's mouth himself of Gettr. All right. Rumble's proposed rules prohibited content. Rumble seeks to provide an open space for content creators to freely express themselves to an engaged audience within the limits of the law, locale without illicit misuse of the platform that could undesirably discourage open debate and free discussion of publicly important topics. In an era of cancel culture and deplatforming, Rumble is and shall remain a free space for open discourse. Remember, they see there are a free space with open discourse. And arguably, devil's advocate here, as much as I have my own, concerns, for the most part, they are. I can say what I want to say for the most part and not worry about censoring myself. This is why if you hear me play on Lavistro Plays and we have people pop in our Discord server, they'll ask, are we live? Or we ask if anyone was live. And we mean that are we live on YouTube? And we might say yes or no, but we still are on Rumble because we don't want to violate terms of service. So we still have to be careful with our speech as well. I'm a person who has a hard time with the concept of a filter. I have a brain injury, and it's just easier and less headache for me if I can just speak my mind. I miss those days. I used to have those days, regardless if it made me go viral, as you kids say nowadays, for saying something stupid or not. But anyways, so they continue that we aim to similarly protect users from illicit stalking behavior, right to privacy, you have a right to safety and privacy. All these are unlawful to stalk and, dox people. Those are against the law. So, I think we can all agree on that. We also provide these clear, transparent rules and non-discriminatory enforcement thereof without political or partisan bias. These rules are free of copyright and are open source to all to copy and replicate in this effort to revolutionize the space for free speech on the internet and digital platform. My problem is with Rumble is the highlight below it. They say they're free speech, but, and I'm sorry to say it, they're not. They're not free. They're freer in some cases, but not completely free. They're freer than YouTube. This is why I like using Rumble. Yes, I get Rumble rants. Sure. Yes, the community is awesome. I've met a lot of great people. Got rated by a lot of great people. I watched Tomby. I watched the Guru Mikey. I've watched. Trying to think of a couple people off my top of my head. I just rated a guy last night, and he's a swell guy. But anyways, they say here in this highlight, the freedom of expression Rumble seeks to preserve and protect on its platform protects against unlawful discriminatory use and equally prohibits discriminatory abuse of the service. It is a freedom to freely express oneself on subjects that may run contrary to the official narrative without fear of sanction or censorship from the platform. Okay. It is the freedom to hold and express unpopular beliefs. It is not the freedom to break the law or stalk or remove children from a program to target based on legally protected savage. Wait, no, this ain't the one. Rumble is not here to suppress free speech nor stalk, right? But here we go. If we scroll down, I think if we scroll down, copyright infringement. No, this ain't it. I had it in here. There it is. Here we go. So it is in here. All the content uploaded to Rumble must abide by the applicable laws of your jurisdiction. Prohibited use of service includes using the service in site unlawful conduct, blah, blah, blah. Posting obscenity, including pornography and nudity for prudent purposes. And that's the thing I have a problem with. Because as we saw in Parler's terms of service, they allow everything but actual illegal stuff. So if I'm playing Duke Nukem, will I run afoul of their content creator policy? Right? This one here, discriminating against others based on their legally protected status, such as attacking other users or content creators based on their race, religion, or other protected status. They also have, and it's not in this one, I believe. I forget what it was. Hold on a second. Let me make he's distracting with his content. Hold on. Hold on, sorry guys. I had it in here, but I guess I accidentally clicked it off. That's what happens. Doing this live. I can't. I hate having so many tabs open and shutting out the wrong ones by accident. Here we go. Here we go. I found it. This is actually from the Rumble studio. I know this is kind of boring, kind of dry, but this is from the Rumble Studios use of service. Yes, professional use. I'm the most professional one of all. But anyways, if we scroll down here in the terms of service, and I read the terms of service, and not a lot of people do. That I've noticed. People actually admitted to it. for example, there are people that are shocked, I say, shocked that their content is hidden when they select not for kids. If it's in a restricted mode, a lot of content is hidden. Well, if you read the YouTube's terms of services update back in 2023, they actually tell you if you select no, not safe for kids, your content that you selected no to gets pushed into the restricted list. So when people select in their platforms restricted mode, it won't show up. For example, 90% of my live streams, I select no, not safe for kids. So therefore, you will not see 90% unless I forgot to select that. Most of my video uploads are shown because I forget to select not safe for kids. So a lot of my subscribers that come in find me literally from my videos. Now, if I went in there and selected not safe for kids, YouTube would put me in restricted mode and you wouldn't see none of my content. It actually happened to the Goon Room. He noticed that as well, but he wasn't surprised because he knows a lot of his content isn't meant for kids. His channel, like mine, isn't meant for children. But continuing on, it says here, hosts shall be required to obtain all necessary authorization for third parties, prohibited illegal content of any form nature is strictly prohibited. Hosts refrain more specifically, but not exclusively, from using any content that's defamatory, misleading, racist, anti-sexist, homophobic, violent, or contrary to laws protecting minors. Okay, so the part here that I'm having a problem with is those three: racist, anti-Semitic, homophobic, and violent. Now, granted, I am not anti-Semitic. I'm not a racist. And I have no irrational adverse reaction to things that are the same. That's literally a translation of homophobic. The Twitter version of that, if it was used properly, would be homosexistophobic, meaning I have an adverse reaction to homosexuality, which, again, I do not. But there are people who do. There are people who actually say anti-Semitic stuff on X, and they're not banned for it. I'm not saying X is a great platform. It does censor. But in this case, you can't say racist stuff. So there is that. There's also the actual content policy, which I have a hard time pulling back up. It literally says you can't post anything sexual in nature, and you can't say anything that is. And it's in if you go watch my Duke Nukem videos, you'll actually see it where I actually cite it, where it says you can't post anything that the online community would find or deem offensive. So if one day they say that me talking about Rumble is bad for not being completely free speech, for example, and they find that offensive, they could ban me because the online community deems my speech offensive. Now, as a veteran of the United States Army, as a person who served in the United Nations War on Oil, yes, we fought the Iraq War for the UN. Go look that up. Food for Oil program. Perfect example of free speech. But as someone who fought for what he believed was right, for what he believed everyone should have a right for, I don't agree with this. Do I still use Rumble Platform? Sure. Do I follow the rules as a TOS? Yeah, sure. Their TOS is actually a little more easier to understand than YouTube. While I might not agree with it, I can make the compromise. But would I like an actual free speech platform where I could make a joke and people know it's a joke and I'd have to worry about being flagged for being a problem? I'm a freaking dragon. I'm always a problem. But continuing on, right? We had the written statement. Let's cover Truth Social. All right. I want to cover Truth Social real quick. That's President Trump's, that's President Trump's social. I don't have a Truth Social account. because I felt it was freedom of political speech. Right? If I say things that was within the towing the line of a different party. Nothing against Donald Trump. I did vote for him. Yes, I did. Shocker. I didn't like Kamala. But I voted for Trump. And yet I don't have this in me. And yes, for the most part, Goomer, I agree with you. But I also one that's bound by his word. If I agree to say or do something a certain way, if I agree to that and make that compromise, that's different. But for me right now, us streaming offline and on Discord, for the most part, I'm not really worried about what I have to say. And then when I'm playing with just all of us on voice chat, and we're not streaming, I'm about as unfiltered as I can get. So here in the True Social, scroll down, right? They say you have to be 18 years old or up, right? To have the platform, which I agree. I think you should be an adult before you have something like this. But prohibited activities for True Social. Oh, I don't censor myself, Mikey, for the most part. It's just I don't have a word that would not be as abrasive. So I tend to Aesopian the way journalists did in World War II Germany with Funny Mustache Man was in charge and took control of the media, the arts, and everything else. The only way they could criticize the party and the government was Aesopian. Say something else, like do something in Minecraft would be considered Aesopian. But anyways, you can't do retrieve data or something, blah, blah, blah. Unauthorized use of the service. Buying another agent. Where's that? You can't sell anything illegal. Copying any content, facing copyright laws. Unauthorized framing, trick, defraud is another one. False advertising, you're not allowed to do that. That's against the freedom of speech. That's literally outside First Amendment protections. Okay, cool. False reports, yeah, false statements. Data mining, yeah. Let's see, hold on. Which one I want to look at? Decipher, decompile, disassemble, reverse engineer. Harass, intimidate. Delete copyright notices. Let's do that. Trojan horses, malicious software, that's not free speech. Infringing copyright materials. Do anything illegal again. But here we go, number 26. Post offensive or sexual content on site tries to include not limited to sexual content or language. So basically I can't say fuck you. I can't say get fucked. That's actually sexual for unlawful carnal knowledge. Content includes sexual activity. Any kind of portrays or just explicit sexual acts. Sexual and suggestive statements, text, or phrases. Like Nutty Buddy cream pies. Even though that's an actual snack from Little Debbie, which someone should fire that guy for naming it that. They should came up with their name. Content with sexual acts requested, offered, pornography, prostitution, sugar babies, and sexual fetishes. So you can't talk anything sexual on this platform. I need 3 monsters. First I needed 2 monsters, now I need 3. But then it explains why every single live stream I have is restricted. Yes. But that's the thing. You know your content is not meant for kids, right? So you're doing the customer a courtesy when you and a service by saying, no, my content is not meant for kids, right? Me as the parent can also keep an eye on my children's view hours and view channels and let them know. Like, for example, if I see the name The Goon Room with a chick on it like an anime girl, first off, I'm not gonna let my son watch it. I'll watch it, yeah, but it's not meant for my kid, right? It's a twofold process. So I do agree with the YouTube content of removing it from kids, but at the end of the day, it's still my decision to also keep an eye on what my kid consumes. I think we agree on that one. But here they're saying in True Social, no sexual content. Okay. But before I cover the laws on why I would have a problem with this, right? I want to go back in time to when Tim Pool covered this. So I have my notepad here, so we're gonna be watching some two CEOs of free speech platforms. And I believe I have him right here in the right time period. Yep, okay. So post this up. Here we go. This is Tim Pool. Let me fix this. I thought I fixed this already, but I didn't. Doing this live, ladies and gentlemen. The most professional YouTuber of all the YouTubers is doing this live. There we go. Better. So this is Timcast IRL calls for Biden removal over mental failing after insane presser with Jason Miller. And this was back in January 19, 2022. Make sure the audios here can be heard.
Talk about all of this and social media censorship is the CEO of Gettr, Jason Miller. Thanks for coming, man.
Thanks for having me.
Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to put out that this is very long because the guy does not know how to answer questions simply. He dances around the question a lot while shilling out his Gettr app. He'll say things like millions of users and millions of users, and he'll use power phrases like he was in the Trump campaign, stuff like that, because he's trying to market his app. So that being said, he's doing a lot of corpo speak. But we're gonna go for a couple things here. And don't worry, we are getting into PickAx Social, but I want to build up what my thought process, because all this is my thought process when I talked to PickAx.
Jason Miller, I'm the CEO of Gettr, fastest growing social media platform in world history. We're up to just under 4.5 million users. We got to 1 million users after 3 days, about 1.5 million after 10 days. So we're fastest to 1, 2, 3, 4. By comparison, Facebook.
I can't bring the volume up any higher than this.
So this thing is taken off like a rocket ship. And really, the principles on free speech, and that's the big differential between us and the big tech platforms, which I know we're going to go into a whole bunch of this show. So yeah,
so you notice how he said he's a free speech platform, right? In this episode, they literally grilled him, and Tim Pool did admit he had a Gettr account. So next, we're going to go straight into 54 minutes and 57 seconds.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The scary thing is that my prediction is that Gavin Newsom is the Dem nominee in 2024.
Yeah.
And that is
that
so, folks.
Or Whitmore.
Accurate prediction.
Whitmer?
Yeah.
Well, there was an article once that, and it's not just one article, but they say that California is what the United States will be 5 years later. So that what happens in California affects the rest of the country 5 years on. I hope.
I brought this up because Tim Pool points out an excellent point afterwards. All right, because people were saying that we'll be just like California in 5 years.
Not. I think with the pushback we're seeing thanks to the internet, that's going to play a big role in people waking up and paying attention. We're seeing, hey, Gettr, for instance, an opportunity for people to bypass the censorship and maintain these values and ideas and share them. If we didn't have that, and people.
So basically, yes, Gettr was a good platform for showcasing ideas, but still there was some censorship, as we will find out later on in this video. And we'll go straight to where they talk about George Floyd at 1:08. "45 seconds.
Totally understand why people would be like, we don't want that on our platform, but there's a very important newsworthiness that wouldn't a filter make, be better? Maybe some kind of like, you don't see it unless you opt in and click it.
Or unless you decide to follow those people. Like, shouldn't people have the choice to say, I want to follow those people for this coverage?
I don't want to derail from the point I'm making. The point I'm making is, in this world, if a serious moment happens, let's say we saw what happened with Aaron Danielson, a Trump supporter, was walking down the street and Antifa guy put 2 in his chest. As much as it's a gruesome act, I think people need to see, the newsworthiness of this. This happened in this country, and if you restrict that, people won't believe it. You could go to someone and say, did you know that a far-left Antifa guy killed a dude? And they'll be like, show me the video. I can't. Gettr banned it.
Would you ban the George Floyd video?
Would not ban the George Floyd video.
But that's a video of someone dying.
But it's with the George. That's a good question on the George Floyd video.
If you watch the video, you'll notice he dances around a lot of questions, but he's like, yeah, I would totally not ban the George Floyd video, even though he has policies that would say it should be banned, as Luke Richkowski, especially I disagree with Luke Richkowski or whatever his name is. It's Luke something. We make a change. Anyways, my point is that once Luke points out that it would violate his terms of service, he goes back on it. He is a politician. He is a tribal member. Okay, he's going to support his tribe. So the George Floyd video, he wouldn't ban because it supports his tribe. It supports the narrative. He feels like it should be shared. But if it hurts his tribe, or if he doesn't care about it, he would ban it and say it's the TOS. He's literally telling you, without telling you, he will arbitrarily ban. As we'll find out.
The George Floyd video was different for the fact that it was a much longer process. When he's on the ground, he's choking.
No.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but he didn't die until shortly thereafter.
No, he died in the ground.
Did he die down there in the ground?
Yeah, on the ground.
Yeah, he was down on the ground. He died.
So you guys would ban it?
I
or
can't breathe. I'm not supporting the George Floyd crisis.
I would need to watch that video again.
That video would be banned on Gettr based on his terms of
when I was
service.
thinking through, I thought that he died shortly thereafter. But if it's the actual act of him dying, then the moment, I think it's a little bit different when someone's exploding. That's the moment when they're dying, as opposed to here's the process of him slowly having the oxygen.
What about
off.
the Aaron Danielson thing? There's a video. You can't really see it perfectly, but you can see him walk up and he yells, "We got him here!" And then you hear bang bang, and then you see the gas go off. The explosion happens when the tank ruptures, and a Trump supporter he's dead. When I talk to people about what's going on in the United States with rioting and violence, it's really easy to explain to them, the fringe right elements or ultra traditionalists or whatever, that they do crazy things, ramming cars or shooting people. But trying to find evidence of Antifa when it's covered up by the media and they say it's lying is very difficult. So if we're trying to go on social media, if someone like Andy No is on the ground and he films this, you guys would ban it.
Andy No covered it.
If it's again, where
for years,
it's tough to do the 100%, and again, we'll get some things wrong, and we're not always going to get it right every time. We're continually
wrong. Of course,
it.
That's why we have a rule of
and that's
law.
where when you see it, you'll know. But again, if it's when you take what happened to Andy, for example, and obviously he was beaten and
you don't
he
need to interpret the rule of law
thankfully,
to your
yeah,
political
exactly.
tribe or party.
Obviously, but
I'm not going to continue on because, as you can hear, with me talking over him, he's dancing around the subject to defend his point and his platform because he's being put on a hot foot. Let's go to his stance on hate speech.
I just follow up. I just want to know what specific term of service was that a violation of?
So, in context, before I continue, I don't know the guy. All right, I don't know the guy, but they're talking about Nick Fuentes, who was allegedly or was found proven. I don't know. I never followed through with it. I didn't really care. Was considered an alt-right nationalist because of something he said. So, in this context, hate speech, right, in Twitter and Facebook and everything else, you're banned from hate speech. YouTube hates, you say hate speech, you're banned. No, zero tolerance policy. Parler didn't have that problem. Parler didn't have that policy, and they got shut down because people could say things whatever they wanted to say, and people made false claims that ended up been disproven, but the damage was done. It literally took Elon Musk buying Twitter to make some changes. Not everything is perfect. Don't get me wrong. Not a lot of things is perfect on X. But I'm going to say, and I'm locked out of X right now because they think I'm a fucking bot. But I'm going to say, when I was on X, I've never been banned since Elon Musk bought it for anything I had to say, anything sexist, misogynistic, racist. If I said anything wrong, not saying I did, but if I said anything wrong, never been banned for it. I know some people said they have been. I have yet to experience that. I only got banned because I would act all my followers to give them shout outs because I like to do that and shout people out. Because they followed me. And because I got restricted, my account restricted. But anyways, continuing on.
That would go into, or I would say that many people would be concerned that if you're turning Gettr effectively into the OkCupid of the.
What's the specific term of service that he violated?
See how he
with that post.
See how Luke was asking what's the term of service he violated, and the guy still didn't give him the terms of service. He danced around it, trying to justify their actions.
So that would go into as we talk about a white nationalist group. You talk about what that impact is going to be for, say, people of different races or religions.
So that because the presence of a white nationalist would be negative to another group, you've banned him.
I would describe it differently. I would say from the fact that you're trying to then recruit for one of these organizations. Then
so Black Lives Matter's banned?
I would say if you went on there and said that, say, any group that's viewed as existing only to go and hate on people who are of a different race or religion, and you try to turn Gettr into a recruitment zone, then we'd kick you off as well.
It seems a bit of a stretch. Look, for obvious reasons, I'm no fan of any of these white nationalists, especially the stuff my family has dealt with. And then I got to deal with the racist woke people who accuse me of just all the stupidest trash. It's laughable. But the issue here is posting on Gettr saying, are there any other groypers, doesn't seem like he was targeting, offending, attacking, or recruiting. It just was like, hey, who's in the house? And it seems to me that you guys probably banned him for a PR issue. You don't want to, and this is my opinion, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems to me that you're worried that you'll get kicked out of the Play Store, that you'll get negative ramifications from big tech in Silicon Valley, and the only real reason to get rid of him was the threat from the establishment media,
And that's a perfect thing to point out because Gab also had this problem and they got pushed out of the Play Store. You can't find the Gab app on the Play Store or the iApp, the Apple store. You can find it on their platform. We're going to talk about Gab here in a second, but also, if I remember correctly, Parler also faced this problem because they wouldn't toe the line. They wouldn't have a hate speech policy. Continuing on.
No, I'd push back on that. I mean, if that was the case, then I'd be hiding under the covers with a flashlight saying, what are people saying about COVID? What are people saying?
Sure, but
okay, so he says that, but I want to point out this other thing, and it's his investors and everything else. He's an echo chamber. He says so himself, not in exact words. Start a little earlier.
It is pretty cool. But the one of the firms who's invested in us has a heavy influence from Miles's family foundation. Miles does not have a direct financial or leadership role within the company. I have a board of directors with my company. I have shareholders that I am accountable to. That is the.
He has shareholders he's accountable to. He's not accountable to his members, his 4 million members. He's accountable to his shareholders and his board of directors.
structure. I get ideas or hear things from Miles, or obviously he's very supportive, and we're very like-minded. I've spent a lot of time with him
listens to
talking about
like-minded
taking down
people.
the CCP and kind of our shared worldview on that.
Shared
He is
worldview.
not my boss. He is not someone who goes and says this is what the policy is going to be or not going to be, or that case. But look, here's the thing is, when you come in, you become a marketplace disruptor. When you come in, not just to taking on the big tech, but you go in, there are other people who are saying that.
And now he's doing a self-victimization, saying, "Oh, it's big tech." Sir, you went and opened a can of worms for Pandora's box when you have like-minded people, right? That you said you have people that you talk about Trump. You can watch the video yourself. You can find out for yourself. If you want, I will put the link in the description. It's basically a 2-3-year-old video. But you ban someone for what you call hate speech, which I'm going to say the Villagers Skokie versus Nationalist Socialist Party. And the ACLU defended the National Socialists because they were wanting to assemble in the park. And I'm not saying what they do is good. Obviously, they're horrible. They're horrible, racist people. But the judge said that if they were peacefully assembling and they weren't causing any violence, they were allowed to do so. He literally says, I would rather them spew their venomous rhetoric than dictate what the American people can and cannot say. Therefore, we may not agree with that kind of conversation. We may not stomach it. But they had that right. You know what I would do when I see racist comments on platforms and it's not violation of terms of service? I wouldn't follow that channel unless I knew it was a joke and not really meant to be taken seriously. I would mute the conversation, saying I don't want to hear all this. Right? I'm not censoring their speech. I'm distancing myself away from it because I don't want nothing to do with it. Right? Sadly, he jumped the gun and he used a hate speech policy. And he has an echo chamber. Then let's talk about, they continue on and talk about Nick Fuentes. We're almost done with this guy, all right? We're almost done. We're getting closer and closer to Pickax. Just bear with me. Oh, 37, 44... Oh, 149, 37. Here we go.
A lot of people are asking you why you think Nick Fuentes is a white nationalist.
So a couple things. From both from his the comments and things. I mean, he's self-identified.
Keep in mind, I'm not defending Nick Fuentes. Like I said, I don't know who this guy is. All right, but the context was, apparently the Snake guy was accused of being a white nationalist. He said something on Gettr and he got banned.
They're all denying that he's never. So this is what we're getting in comments. They're saying Nick Fuentes has never stated that there is a race better than another race, that white people are better, nor that he's identified as a white nationalist. Nor and this is, I'm not saying it's true because I don't know. I'm just telling you what the comments are asking you. They're wondering why you are accusing him when they say that accusation is false.
Well, I would say, look, even if someone off the street who I didn't know, but they were making an effort to go and recruit.
Well, let me just ask you: have you ever seen or heard anything from Nick Fuentes that was white nationalism? Like, have you directly heard from him specifically?
I have a limited volume of things that I've seen from Nick Fuentes. Obviously, I've seen him use some words.
So right then and there, I'm going to point out, because you're going to hear it, because this guy likes to beat around the bush. He banned Nick Fuentes and violated his innocence until proven guilty, his Fifth Amendment rights. And Temple says, have you heard him say anything that would say he's right nationalist? And he just would say yes or no. Because he knows if he does, and he's wrong, Nick Fuentes can sue him for slander. That slander is outside the First Amendment. So he's trying to cover his ass.
That would not be allowed on our platform. Some racial slurs that would not be allowed on our platform.
Racial slurs will not be allowed on a platform. Like I said, Village Skokie. Racial slurs are, sadly, they're free speech. They're protected under the First Amendment. You can say those things. I'm not saying we should. I'm not saying it should be endorsed. I'm not saying. It's like when I have to cover things that I don't want to defend and cover, but I have to acknowledge people's rights. My belief has always been, I may not agree with what you have to say, but I will defend your right to the death to say. And I have proven that. I'm one of the 1% of Americans that raised their right hand and says, yes, Uncle Sam, I will defend and uphold the Constitution to my dying breath. I will pay in blood for American freedom. Okay? This man here says he's a Trump supporter. He has 4 million subscribers. He keeps harping and shilling on his thing, as we saw in the beginning. But the moment the hard questions came, he broke. He danced around the subject. He's afraid to say the truth. He's afraid to say yes and no. Even though, yes, he banned them for violating hate speech. And when he was asked to bring it to terms of service, he couldn't bring it up.
Even if it wasn't Fuentes, anyone else who came in and made a similar comment or was trying to
Here's a question. He says, even if it wasn't Nick Fuentes, okay, what if it was Trump? I'm not saying Trump does this stuff. Let's just say Trump is an alt-right nationalist. Let's just say the president is an alt-right nationalist. And he says something like what he's accusing Nick Fuentes of saying. Would he ban Trump off his platform? Being the fact that he supported Trump? No.
Or pull people together who are in a group that's identified as
who identified them as white nationalists?
As far as on the Groyper side,
look, I got to be completely honest. I don't know a whole lot about what Groypers are.
And I'll admit it's not a community I've spent a ton of time that I've seen, but I've seen a number of writings and things where that's how that group has been defined.
So you're saying because the media has called them white nationalists, you've banned Nick Fuentes?
No, I'd say that, say for the fact that if you're out there trying to organize and collect with a group, that I don't even think just the media. I mean, you look at many people who've self-ID'd as being part of that group or part of that ideology.
Bro, I don't think you got an argument here, man. This sounds like complete bullshit. I don't think you know anything about what this group is. I got to be honest, I don't either. But this is just talking in circles. I've not listened to Nick Fuentes. I don't know a lot about him. I know that he's been banned across the board. I know that he's had trouble getting on planes. I can hear what his fans are saying, but I don't know. Maybe they're just lying because they want to support him. I really don't know. So it's really difficult for me to be like, to understand exactly what he did wrong. The issue for me is when I ask you, you don't seem to know either.
No,
that's right.
All you said is that he posted, who else here is a Groyper? I'm like, well, what's a Groyper? You don't know. You just read it in the media and they said something bad about him. Is that justification? For me, I got no idea. Like, I thought you were going to come on and be like, look, Nick Fuentes said this, and he said this, and you got to understand we did research on Groypers and found this, but you don't even have that.
Look, and I'm going to say on this that you're not going to make everyone happy when you're running a social media platform. And
no,
people are going to have different opinions. So your opinion
yes, everyone's got different
might
opinions.
be that, hey, that's BS. There are other people are going to say, look, these guys are making sure.
Yeah, and what happened to that is Gettr, a very big popular
They're
platform.
giving us that ability to have that political free speech.
No,
and look, we
I
might
don't
just
see
disagree on
Gettr
this one.
for sharing links
look,
on newspapers.
I'll stress it again. I do believe that Gettr is likely to censor less than Twitter is.
That's
but
fair.
I also kind of feel like
that was back during the Jack Dorsey
if
days.
you can't give us a direct quote from Nick Fuentes that got him banned, explain to us in detail what a Groyper is or how you know what it is, then it just sounds to me that the moment the media piles up on me or Luke or anybody else, you'll ban us too.
Mm-hmm. No,
I understand they pile up on Nick Fuentes more than anybody else.
But there's hold on. But there is a difference between taking a very pointed.
He doesn't like being compared to X,
or saying this is
even though he's very similar to X,
going
Twitter,
into the other direction. And so we've made very clear that we are never going to shadow ban or algorithm or go and use different standards for people based on their political beliefs. We've made that very clear.
No, I get it, man, but I mean, I still don't understand why you banned Nick Fuentes. Like, you're saying Groypers are bad, you're saying he's a white national and stuff, and I'm like, I mean, as Wikipedia says that, I guess.
It'd be
but
so
isn't
much
it important
easier
that,
if people like Tim
you guys actually
myself,
have a
even though
definitive,
I
this
don't
broke
watch
the
Tim Pool
rules.
much anymore.
Like, when
He
Luke
lost
asked
his
you, what did he
mind.
say that broke the rules? A lot of people are asking the same
If
question.
you
never
don't
answered
follow
that question. You
the
didn't say what rule he broke.
tribal
What term specifically did he break? And if
it causes them
you respond to
problems.
something to the effect of,
But when
Groypers are white nationalists.
say
and they
yes,
hate
you're
for
my
Greek
side, I
recruiting,
will
so,
shut up and
Nation
listen
of
to you.
Islam
If
would be
you
banned
say
as
this
well.
person is
My
bad, I will
response
listen
is,
to
okay,
you.
what's a Groyper?
It's
And-
easier for them.
So this will be, and this is where I told you. I said, look, we should have had our the more specific community guidelines go into specific examples. We should have already had that posted and up. That's one of the things we're working on now, and we'll have that up very shortly. So it's a little more detailed because again, the terms of service are always going to be more general because that's.
It keeps going on, and we're going to go to the last one here for this video. I labeled free speech. 5850. We'll start it here.
Done with Gettr, what we've launched, what we built this to with 4.5 million people, and I will tell you that Gettr is by far the best free speech platform.
Look at that, bam! He says it again. It's the best free speech platform. But as we discussed, he censors and bans people based on what the media told him, or based on his political views. It's not free speech; it's political free speech for his tribe, which did not help Gettr to succeed. As Joe Rogan was even trying to leave, as they talk about here in this episode of Timcast back 3 years ago, and like I said, didn't really succeed in my view. I don't really hear much about Gettr. I could be wrong because I'm not a political person.
Well, what about Gab?
Oh, you
look at
Gab.
the fact our platform is so much smoother and so much better than anything out there that strives to provide free speech. And what we've been able to put together, I think, is
free speech is a
top-notch.
commodity
And
for these.
the fact that
types.
this is something where people are going to make sure
It's a sales
we're
pitch.
going to make sure that people do
Because they
not
know
have
we
their
want it.
political voices censored, as
But
we
they're
go
not
through
willing to give it.
midterms, whether we're going
Corpos
to
will
2024. This platform that we're doing, and here's the other thing, Tim, it's not just here in the U.S. Gettr is what we're going to make sure how we protect free speech in places like, whether it be France, whether it be places like Brazil, whether it be places like India, or anywhere else. This is the rocket ship. This is the one that's going to protect free speech, and it's the best thing that people are going to have. Because here's the thing. Again, I know I said this once before, not trying to go in circles, but I got to go and make this point. We are the one company that has the technology that is as good or better of anything that big tech is doing, that wakes up every day and say, how do we make sure that we protect free speech and oppose cancel culture? We're the only one that can go do that and go toe-to-toe with big tech.
I think, a lot of people have mentioned Gab uses the First Amendment as their standard for.
And we're going to go into
moderation.
that one.
I think, we've talked quite a bit.
So Tim Pool just said, I don't know if y'all can hear the full video, and I don't want to take too much from Tim Pool's videos. I don't like, sharing people's context, but I was literally viewing this when it was live that day. Yes, you're right, Mikey. It's a lot of douche waffles. But he does interview Gab later on. We will show here. So this is from January 20th, 22. So I believe that was, the very next day. He has the Gab CEO on. It was titled Timcast IRL, New York arrests child over Vax passport, UK ends passports with Gab CEO Andrew Torba. And we're not covering everything. We're just going to cover a couple things I wanted to point out.
Up on a conversation about Gettr with none other than the CEO of Gab and founder, Andrew Torba. How's it going, man?
Great to be here.
You want to pull your mic up a little bit closer?
Sure thing.
And just introduce yourself, man.
So I'm the CEO of Gab.com, the home of free speech on the internet. I'm a father.
The home of free speech on the internet. Now, granted, Gab was removed from social media stores like Google Play and Apple, right? See, I know more than just games. I just try not to deal in politics because I'm not a tribalist. I don't swear fealty to a party. I swear fealty to the Constitution. And because of that, tribalists don't want to hear what I have to say because sometimes I call a spade, even if that spade hurts their tribe. Just pointing that out there.
I'm a husband, and I'm here to save free speech on the internet. It's that
He's here
simple.
to save free speech on the internet. Not bad,
we talked
right?
with a couple different CEOs recently. We had Rumble, the video platform. A lot
I
of
could
their
not
terms
find
of service
this
are very
one
similar
because
to
it
the
was
big
so
tech
hard to
platforms.
find
Then we
things
had
going
CEO
back
of Gettr.
years.
They have very similar rules, but I guess Gab is the one place where your only rule is what, the First Amendment?
Yeah, I actually brought a copy of our terms of service right here. Right.
What was that?
Want me to read it?
He had the Declaration of Independence, right? He says, I have our terms of service right here. We're going to go into that. That's why I put this out here.
Congress shall make no law representing an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise of or abridgment of the freedom of speech, right? So it's really that simple.
Okay, so he brings out the Constitution. So if you're a political type, you're already sold, you're hook, line, and sinker, he's got you. That's literally why he does it. He's saying, I got this free speech right here. But I'm going to point out, you can look it up. It's from Theodore Roosevelt. You can Google this up. Actually, let me do that right now because I can pull it up, but I'm going to, just because I will get in trouble with YouTube because of my bookmarks. I have a lot of bookmarks covering a lot of things. Theodore. That's not it. All right, so here we go. I got it right here. So this is the news. This is from Theodore Roosevelt. He was the founder of the Progressive Party. He was also one of our U.S. presidents, and he was a Republican. This is from teachingamericanhistory.com, True Americanism by Theodore Roosevelt, 1894. Patriotism was once defined as the last refuge in a scandal, and somebody has recently remarked Johnson is given since she was ignorant of the infinite possibilities contained in the word reform. Basically, he, in this whole concept of Americanism, true Americanism is what he calls it, is that people wrap the red, white, and blue and patriotism to promote their political agenda. As he says, if you do not wish in politics, literature, or art to develop that unwholesome parochial spirit, that over-exhilaration, blah, blah, blah. Right? Politically, the indulgence of this spirit was chiefly caused by calamities which befell the ancient republics of Greece, the medieval republics of Italy. Basically, political tribalism and partisanship is what he's referring to here in this concept. Even the founding fathers even warn against partisanship and what they called factionalism. Even George Washington's farewell address warns of this. One of the founders, I can't remember which one, says is the great political parties are the greatest evil constituted or perpetrated under the Constitution, right? So what we see here, in my view, is this guy rips out the Constitution because he's trying to get more people to. He's trying to do it for clout. He's doing patriotism for clout to get on his free speech platform. He's defending free speech, right?
It's allowed by the First Amendment. It is allowed on Gab.
If it's allowed on the First Amendment, it's allowed on Gab. Well, let's see what he. I mean, he's not lying. Let's put it that way. Most of the stuff that's allowed on First Amendment, he allows on Gab. But let's go to 59. Why does it not let me? I can't see. I'm trying to get as close as I can to the timestamp. It's not letting me. I don't care about much we've played. Okay, we'll just have to go here.
And all these ideas that we wanted to do. So we said, we're going to take this to the next level and go open source with everything and go into the Fediverse. And we gave the Fediverse a real shot, but it just didn't work at our scale. Like, we were too big. Gab itself at the time was bigger than the entire Fediverse combined. Now, forget it. It's like, 20 times bigger than the entire Fediverse combined.
So I pulled up your terms.
Okay, so Tim pulls out Gab's terms of service. This is what I'm trying to get at right here. This is Gab's terms of service. Remember, he said about free speech, right? And he says his terms of service is the First Amendment, right?
Of service, as we've done with the past CEOs.
Sure.
And I got to say, some of this stuff is protected by the First Amendment, and
Sure.
you do ban it.
Well, the founding fathers didn't have things like doxing. They didn't have things like spam, internet spam. Pornography is protected by the.
Yes, pornography is protected by the First Amendment, and also before pornography was existence in the late 1880s, brothels and prostitution was. I'm not condoning either that, but the founding fathers didn't ban that. They were dead when it was banned. They were all dead. All right, and now he's trying to make justifications for, back then it was in the old days, but they didn't have all this stuff. No, because most of the reasons why spam, a lot of those things that are banned nowadays, like false advertising and stuff, was that when people read laws on that's still in laws today, is because it was under the 3 natural rights. All had the right to the fruits of the trade, gifts. All had the rights to the fruits of their labors, gifts, or trade without force or coercion, as long as it doesn't violate the other 2. All had the right to the freedom of expression, unforced nor coerced, as long as it violates the first. All had the right to live, only murderers forfeit that right. That's the that's from the 2 treatises of government by John Locke, which literally surmised in the Declaration of Independence, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, which is what governed and helped inspire and create and ratify the United States Constitution that we have today. All laws are based on the Constitution. The Constitution is the rule of law, which he brings out. Now, as we're finding out, he's a scoundrel, as Theodore Roosevelt would say. Patriotism is the last refuge of the scoundrel.
First Amendment technically, but I would say that the founding fathers would be appalled that is protected and that SCOTUS ruled that because
they had brothels back then. They weren't appalled by it. You could literally go down the street. It wasn't just some Wild West thing. They literally had brothels back then. They had brothels in medieval Europe. The church didn't do anything to it. They would just tell their congregation why a church-going and God-fearing man would not enter a brothel. And if their flock did go, the pastor would go to his flock and say, well, why'd you go to that brothel? He would not go to the brothel and shame the women there. He would go to his church and say why, according to the law of God, it was not why a person who follows the law of God should not go there. If you're not a Christian, you didn't go to church, you're not within the jurisdiction of the laws of God, technically. I mean, you are in the masculine things in religion, like the end of days and all that stuff. Because God created the world, but right now Satan runs the world. Blah blah blah. Old Christian theology. So it'd be like saying in Nevada, prostitution is legal still, right? And you can be a prostitute, but you can't be a prostitute, say, in the state of Texas or most of the other states. So you can't enforce your laws on Nevada. So if you don't want to deal with prostitutes, don't go to Nevada.
The founding fathers believed that our country and our rights and our liberties belong to a morally righteous people.
No, they believed it all had equal and inalienable rights. They were Christian, yes, but he's making some John De La Rose speak.
And I don't think that they would defend that. And secondly,
that's an opinion.
It is. It's my opinion. Sure.
So I do think it's fair to point out, because we do have people asking about porn.
Sure.
Personally, I understand why you're like, look, this is not something we want on our platform, because it's very different from an expression platform, conversations, arguments, debates, ideas. But maybe the appropriate way to deal with it would be a filter, as opposed to saying, even though it is protected, I don't think it's right.
Well, the problem is that people don't use the filter, and then bots come on and spam the heck out of every comment section.
Well, I use a filter every time I put my videos up. Mikey uses a filter. Don't you, Mikey, if he's still watching? Is this video safe for kids? Actually, I'll show y'all. Give me a second here. Let me shut this down. Yeah, he does. He reads it. Fun fact: there's another thing that people don't know their civics education. People have a very poor civics education. Just give me a second. I just don't want to show some sensitive information on my end, but I'm going to show you my Creator Studio. Give me a moment. So here we are on my YouTube studio. All right. I know you can't see it very well. Let me see if I can zoom out a little bit. Oh, it's not going to do it. Okay, it's not going to do it. All right. I had the edges cut out because I don't want to show my tabs and stuff. But here's my edit settings, details, right? Down here, gaming. The audience is not meant for kids. Regardless of your location, you're legally required to comply with the Children's Online Privacy Act, COPPA, and other laws. You're required to tell us whether your videos are made for kids. What content is made for kids, if you want to know more, which a lot of people don't seem to realize. If they select this, it censors them. No, my videos aren't made for kids. I did that. YouTube didn't do that. I did that. I put my filter on. Paid promotion. I don't have an endorsement yet. And if I did end up doing a Rumble ad, I would come back in here and I'd say, yes, there's a paid promotion in here. But since I don't have 10 viewers on Rumble right now, I'm not putting that on there because I didn't do no paid promotion. Do I alter anything? No, clearly not. I don't alter anything. Allow automatic chatters and keypad moments. So, yeah, I do my own filtering. Just pointing that out there. Right? But moving on.
Section, every top post, every reply with porn. Are people going to use a site like that? Is
No.
porn being censored right now on the internet? You can go on Twitter. You can go on Twitter and your replies right now and probably find some porn, right?
Even though I think doesn't the Google Play Store ban it?
Technically, I believe so.
But Twitter allows it.
Right.
And it's funny.
Well,
how that
the
works.
other thing too is I love people that claim that it's speech, right? The way to test this is go out to your town square, right, and start preaching the word of God, and you'll be fine. Stump for a political candidate, you'll be fine.
Take your pants off.
Try filming porn in the town square, right? Is that speech? Is that protected? Are you going to land up in?
That's when it stops becoming speech and becomes obscenity, right? Because society does not tolerate that, right? For example, if I go out there and I preach the word of God, right, and I say God wants, God is coming and all that stuff, yeah, I'm allowed to say that. God endorses Donald Trump. That's my opinion. I'm still allowed to say that. God hates non-whites. That's a very racist comment. That's actually not in the Bible. And I'm still allowed to say that. God calls for every individual to go forth and burn down the White House in Minecraft. I'm preaching the Bible like he says. But I just crossed the free speech limits by calling for violence. And no, I'm not saying God said that, and I'm not saying go burn the White House. So, there we go. A scoundrel.
Porn is actually an interesting one because I don't think it's as easy to say that it is protected. It is protected, but there's interesting questions about it because we still...
And we will cover that.
I'm pretty sure every single person, maybe 99.9% of people in this country, if you went around naked, they would be upset with you for it.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
That would be considered obscenity. That's where the line is drawn. We're not going to continue on the subject because I don't really like covering other people's content, but Tim brought this conversation up with actual CEOs. So there you go. That's why I have Gab and Gettr, right? Now, a lot of people point out the argument that this is in the interest of Section 230. Give me a moment to shut down some of these things down so I can, do this better. Okay, hold on. I see that. I want to read it. I can barely read it. My eyes are bad. So give me a moment. But Laura Reeves makes a good point here. Okay, so the issue is the issue of consent. If you're out in public, there's no opt out for that of that exposure. That's why obscenity makes sense alongside free speech. Yes, exactly. That's what it becomes obscene, right? If I went to a store and there was a Playboy magazine for sale, I can get that Playboy magazine. Now, if her breasts are exposed, they have a sleeve jacket that covers that, so you can't see that, right? Not obscene. Still a porno. Still have to show proof of age when you go buy it, but it's there, right? There are differences. That's basically, it'd be like, say, buying a Playboy for a minor. That you'd be arrested for corruption of a minor. You literally would, because they're underage. Buying alcohol for minors, corruption of minors. Children have rights, sure, but they're limited rights until they're 18. The parents are the arbiters of their rights until they become of age. So if a parent says, no, they can't watch Simpsons until they're 16, for example, guess what? That's legal, that's lawful, and that's the parent's decision. The parents have the right of their children. They're the parent and or guardian, basically the parent and guardian. They are responsible for guarding the children and ensuring that they have a safe development cycle. Not these people. All right? They can listen to both sides. Like, okay, you know what? We should have a filter. Tim Pope brought the next one. YouTube has a filter, as we found out. Because, oh, that's censorship. No, it's not censorship. If you select on there no filter, and then you, the parent, let your kid watch your YouTube videos, and you don't put restrictor mode, and they see the Goon Rooms playing porno games on his thing, that's still free speech. I'm sorry to say, it's free speech. He went through and said, put a rating system saying this is not meant for kids. My streams are not meant for kids. You, the parent, did not put the restriction mode on. That's on you, the parent. That would be on me, the parent. This is why you read your terms of service. You don't just make a freaking account. This is why I don't agree with letting my son have his own YouTube Kids account. This is why I don't agree with him having a phone or a Facebook or any other stuff, because I can't monitor every little thing. I restrict his internet access to an extreme maximum degree because he is a child. Because I grew up in the days of the Wild West internet. I was looking for mods for Sid Meier's Civilization. And I'll tell you right now, I wanted a very historical game. So the phonetics, I changed to Funny Mustache Man guys. What I didn't know was that site that I got it from wasn't a modding site. It was a white nationalist site. And I'm half Native American. This is why I believe. Then I was maybe 13 at the time. So this is why back in the day they said ask your parents permission before you go online. My mom and dad knew nothing about the internet. This is why I make sure I monitor my child's thing. The best way I can do it is make sure he doesn't have access to it until I think he's of a mature age that I would say he's mature of to play that, go to the internet. This is why, like, my parents were okay with me playing Halo. Not because they didn't know what Halo was. They knew. But they figured since, even though I wasn't 17 at the time, I was of a mature age to handle the content in there. Plus, we didn't have the ability to have internet for Halo. We still had dial-up. So I couldn't even play Halo multiplayer if I wanted to. Anyways, moving on. I forget what I was going to do with 230. But we'll just show it anyways. Do this like they just pulled a brain fart. Basically, what I do know, and I can't remember where I found it and stuff. Here we go. There it is, actually. Restricting access to objectionable material. 230 C users may not be held liable for voluntary good faith actions to restrict access to availability of material. that the provider or user is considered to be obscene, lewd, lascivious, filthy, blah blah blah. So basically, if I post it, Twitter can't be held liable. Pickax can't be held liable. None of these people can be held liable. However, if I post something that was actual illegal, right? They can't be held liable, but they have to do their due diligence to report it, like Power points out in their terms of service, right? There's zero tolerance policy. You will be banned and reported to the appropriate law enforcement authorities, right? So, we'll do that here. I don't have my glasses. I need to find my glasses. Here we go. Objection of material. The second important limitation of the Section 2 applies that only when providers or users restricted listed types, blah, blah, blah. While this list only includes specific types of content, it should be issued rather broadly. Courts have interpreted the catch-all phrase, otherwise objectionable broadly. Section 2A states that the provider or user who is the one who determines the content is objectionable. So, a court noted that statutes text injects elements, blah, blah. Where's that? Basically, it talks about what would be considered obscene and illegal, offensive materials, and that you can't be held accountable for someone posting porn on your site. Literally, it's like free speech thing, but still, they took that and used that to be like, okay, we're not a publisher, we're a platform. And yet they will still restrict speech, which was the context people were having in 2022. And then especially it got even worse in the early 2000s with COVID. And people were saying, okay, we need to stop combat misinformation. And the question was, okay, who determines what misinformation is? Which to me, face fact checkers found this to be false as a meme, right? That became a meme now. Whenever it said something controversial or whatever, they would say, oh, that's not true. You'll even see AI using that same misinformation stuff. It's like, oh, that's not true. And when you show AI, it says, oh, I stand corrected, because it's programmed to believe what it's told the program to believe. All right. Continuing on, this is from, no, we're not going to cover this one. This is too big. We'll cover lawyers.com. This is from lawyers.com. And I'll fix this because I thought I fixed this. I'm doing this live, ladies and gentlemen. Doing this live. This is from lawyers.com. Free speech, what is subsidiary, and whether community standards apply. The right to freedom of expression is an absolute. The U.S. Supreme Court has long said that the First Amendment doesn't protect certain kinds of harmful speech. Sometimes that is pornography. Sometimes that includes pornography, but sometimes not. Pornography includes books, pictures, live performances, films, videos that show or deal with sex that are primarily meant to arouse sexual desire. But as most people recognize, that can run the gamut from mildly titillating erotica to hardcore violent porn. The Supreme Court has recognized that porn deserves different treatment under law depending on where it falls on that spectrum, who's reading it or looking at it, and whether it shows children involved or not, right? No free speech rights for obscenity. The First Amendment doesn't protect speech and other forms of expression that are obscene. Under Supreme Court guidelines, material is considered obscene if it shows or describes sexual acts in a clear, offensive way. The average person would consider it lewd or appealing to the prurient interest of sex, in the court's words, based on the contemporary community standards, and taken as a whole, the work doesn't have any serious, literally artistic and scientific or political value. Miller versus California. The Miller I talked about this so many times. So, it has to be clearly offensive, right? The average would consider it lewd in a person's interest in sex. But most importantly, if it doesn't have any serious literary, artistic, scientific, or political value. So if you're showing a news thing, you're showing let's do this one. There's a game I covered last week. I wouldn't play it. It's not my type of game, right? Because it's very political. But it talks about women being aggressively loved, let's just say, and you're a detective looking for it. And in there's depictions of the game designer who did her own video, because she's an indie developer, who shows she's acting those things out. By law, there's literary, artistic, and political value. She wants to talk about a subject. Games are an art form, and the literary context of the game is you're trying to uncover clues revolving to a case revolving around this stuff, right? That's the same with House on a Hill. There's a R scene in there. That's the same with G.I. Jane. That's the same with anything, right? And then there are people who consider pornography an art. So then you have those aggressive scenes. While you and they might not agree on those type of things, it's still an art form, right? So there is a certain value attached to that. Now, if you show those things to certain people in public, right, that don't want to see that, don't consent to seeing that, that's different. That's what people are trying to use now with these platforms. When in reality, all they have to do, as Tim points out, a lot of people point out, Nike points out, I myself pointed out, YouTube has this as well, even though they ban it outright, is they have a filter. Put a filter on it so people can say what they want to see and what they don't want to see. And the content creators, all they have to do is just go for the checklist, say, yes, this is in there, no, this is not. And that's it. So it takes 5 seconds, right? I'm not saying we should have this or not. I'm just saying. So seeing in private, you can distribute some material in private, or you can filter it, right? That's another thing. You're filtering. When you put it in private, you're filtering out the rest of the world from seeing it. But I'm not a lawyer, so I'm just gonna say, if you have more questions on it, talk to a lawyer. But I went to lawyers.com for this, right? And this is from the Free Speech Center, obscenity and pornography. I need to I hear my son up. So let me go put them back to bed because I don't want him hearing this. So we're going to take an AFK real quick, about 2-3 minutes. And we are going to get into PickAx. I'm going to get straight into PickAx. My conversation, my thoughts on them. As soon as we get done with this, this is why I couldn't make this as a video, because this is a very, to me, it was a very complex issue. And I wanted to be fair and explain my background on this before I promote or make my thoughts on PickAx, which, yeah, I found out PickAx retweeted, followed, and hearted my post, which I don't think you're going to like. They probably just heard my name saying, oh, I'm going to talk about PickAx. Well, I'll tell you why they would do that. And I'll cover this right now. They say they don't ban hate speech or offensive speech. To be clear, only illegal speech and pornographic content. But we will get into that in a moment, right? Because they were very civil to me when I asked them questions, and so I'm trying to be fair as well. But we will be back momentarily. And we're back. Before we go into all this, I'm going to read the chat real quick because y'all been chatting a lot. Let's see. Mostly Mikey's in here. I find it interesting because it can call someone that and on there and get limited reach, but a thought can post prawn and be completely fine. Yes, I agree. UVA RSF, I don't know what you're talking about. But oh well. Yes, the guy didn't know much about the founding fathers. And it's a fun fact. You can look this up. There was an actual study. 60% of Americans across party lines, age groups, generations that do not have a strong grasp on their civics education. This is what we're seeing right now. People want to dictate what free speech is. But if you go look it up, you're going to find out, yes, I am not advocating for porn. I am saying it is free speech. So if you're gonna ban porn, you can't say you're a free speech platform. If you're gonna ban hate speech or speech you don't like, that's not free speech, and you're not a free speech platform. Stop using it. But corporals will use it because they know there's a demand for a free speech platform. People want to be able to come out there, say what they want without fear of being banned or demonetized, whatever. So you need to stop saying you're a free speech platform, because I'm arguing you're violating your own terms of service because you are false advertising. You're advertising yourself as a free speech platform. I'm not saying a free speech abolitionist. Free speech is free speech in the confines of the law. If it's illegal, if you can go back to court, if it can be used against you in a court of law, obviously it's not free speech, is it? If it's inciting a criminal activity, it's not free speech. You can be arrested for it. So sadly, no, it's not free speech. Lori says, says here, but when you have something like a video game you choose to play or a video game you choose to watch, at that point, informed consent is the thing. Yes. See, like, for example, I played Duke Nukem. If you go look at the Duke Nukem game, right, on the pinball machine, there's literally nude ladies on the pinball machine. If you go through the vents and you make a wrong turn because you got lost, you can look down the vents and you can see a woman filming another woman naked in the game. And that's on YouTube. And you know what? That was sold to everyone else. You know, it had a rating system from ESRB and for mature, you know, everything else. So, you know, so parents knew not to get that game for their kids. It had a filter on it, the ESRB rating. And no one had an issue for years on it. But now it could be the next game being banned off of Steam. It could be. I'm not saying it is. I'm not saying that's what Steam said. I'm saying it could be because of their new policy 15. Anything their payment processor overlords deem offensive. And their payment processor overlords speak in the interest of protecting the brand, as we have seen and covered late in the past episode of Lavistro Rants. So, okay, Little Rings, you have a good night. So, obscenity and pornography. Obscenity refers to the narrow category of pornography that violates contemporary community standards, that has no serious literary, artistic, or political, or scientific value. For adults, at least, most pornography material of a sexual nature that arouses many readers and viewers receives constitutional protection. However, two types of pornography receives no First Amendment protection. Obscenity and child porn, which is harmful to minors. Obscenity remains one of the most controversial and confounding areas of First Amendment law, as current justices have struggled mightily through the years to define it. Justice Potter Stewart could provide no definition for obscenity in Jacob Ellis versus Ohio, 1964, but he did claim, "I know it when I see it." Stewart found that in the court was faced with a task of trying to define what may be indefinable. In a later case, Interstate Circuit in Inc. versus Dallas, 1968, Justice John Marshall Harlan II referred to this area as intractable obscenity problem. The Hickens rule equated obscenity with the corruption of susceptible minds. Several early U.S. courts adopted a standard for obscenity from British case Regina v. Hickman, 1868. The Hickman rule provided the following test proceeding when the tendency of the matter is to deprave and corrupt those whose minds are open to such immoral influences and those whose hands a publication of this sort may fall. This test allowed material to be declared obscene based on isolated passages of work and its effect on particularly susceptible persons. Using this broad text, the British court ruled obscene books deemed to be anti-religious. The two major problems with the Higgins test were that it allowed works to be judged obscene based on isolated passages, and it focused on particular susceptible persons instead of reasonable persons. This focus led to a suppression of much free expression. The Roth test applied contemporary community standards. And the Supreme Court squarely confronted the obscenity question in Roth versus United States 1957, a case contesting the constitutionality of a federal law prohibiting the mailing of any material that is obscene, lewd, lascivious, or filthy, or utter publication of indecent character. The court, in an opinion drafted by Justice William B. Brennan Jr., determined that obscenity is not within the area of constitutionally protected free speech or press. He articulated a new test for obscenity: whether the average person applying contemporary community standards, the dominant theme of the material taken as a whole, appeals to the prudent interest. So there's a whole thing to it. So as a whole, does Duke Nukem is lewd? No, you're running around shooting aliens. Occasionally you'll see some titties. Occasionally you'll see him saying some lewd things. You know, that's his character. But as a whole, the whole concept of it is he's running around shooting aliens. In the case of games that Mikey talked about, prawn games, right? Could that be taken as a whole as lewd? Well, yes, it's a porn game. There's a lot of porn in it. There's also mechanics. You have to maybe solve a puzzle. You have to go for a certain amount of story and dialogue. It's not just solid, straight up tits everywhere. The Roth test differs from the Hickman test that focuses the dominant theme of the material as opposed to isolated. We covered that. The Supreme Court struggled with obscenity cases through the 1960s and 70s. In Memoirs versus Massachusetts, a plurality of the court, in opinion of Justice Brennan, actually a new three-part test. The dominant theme of the material taken as a whole appeals to the prudent interest in sex. The material is patently offensive because it affronts contemporary community standards relating to description or representation of sexual matters. And C, the material is utterly without redeeming social value. The Miller's test is now the leading test for obscenity classes. All right, we've covered this many times. In the 1970s, the Berger Court determined that the obscenity standard was too rigid for prosecutors. Therefore, exactly 60% of those cases make you work for it, just depending on what it is. Exactly. Anyways, in 1970s, Berger Court determined the obscenity standard. Miller versus California, 1973, the Supreme Court adopted a new three-part test, what Chief Jordan Worth and Eberger called guidelines for jurors. That was the more favorable to the prosecution. Whether the average person applying contemporary community standards would find that the work taken as a whole appeals to prudent interest, whether the work depicts or describes in a patently offensive way sexual conduct specifically defined by the applicable state law, and whether the work taken as a whole lacks serious literary, artistic, political, or scientific value. In Miller, the court reasoned that the individual could not be convicted of obscenity charges unless the materials depict patently offensive, hardcore sexual conduct. Under that reason, many sexually explicit materials, pornographic magazines, books, and movies are not legally obscene. Ironically, just dissented Miller and the Paris Adult Theater, 1973, changed his position on obscenity. He determined the obscenity laws were too vague and could not be applied without jeopardizing fundamental First Amendment values. So right then and there, with that ruling, it put porn under First Amendment free speech. Most of them. So even the ones we don't like. How does obscenity laws apply to online content? The Miller test remains leading test for obscenity cases, but that's their debate. In its 1987, in Pope versus Illinois, 1987, the Supreme Court clarified that the serious value prong of the Miller test was not to be judged by contemporary community standards. Obscenity prosecutions do, however, impose contemporary community standards, even though a distributor may transport materials through various communities. Thus, interesting issues emerge when a defendant in California is prosecuting in a locale with more restrictive community standards. This phenomenon has caused some legal experts and interest observers to call for the creation of a national standard, particularly in the age of the internet. In Ashcroft versus American Civil Liberties Union, 2002, several justices expressed concern about applying local community standards to the internet as required by the Online Protection Act of 1988. which, as we stated, in my personal view, Parler did a good job on this. You have to be 18 years old. You have to be an adult. I 100% agree with that. You must be allowed to use the services where you live. So you have to apply with community standards of your area, right? And then if you're posting child porn, you're going to be shut down, and you're going to be reported to the authorities. That's what we should do. That's what we would do in real life, not online. That's what we would do IRL, right? So, for example, Justice Stephen Breyer wrote in his concurring opinion to read the statute as adopting community standards of every locality in the United States would provide the most Puritan of communities with a heckler's veto affecting the rest of the nation. Similarly, Justice Sandra Day O'Connor in her concurrent wrote, and she's a conservative judge, by the way. She's a conservative. I think she was the first female justice on the Supreme Court. I think she was appointed by Ronald Reagan, if I remember my history correctly. The adoption of a national standard is necessary, in my view, for any recent regulatory of internet obscenity. In Free Speech Coalition v. PickAx in 2025, the Supreme Court upheld a Texas law requiring pornography websites to include age verification, where similar past cases have been judged based on possibility of restricting the rights of adults. Justice Clarence Thomas wrote in a majority opinion that this was not an issue considering other age restriction laws and irrelevant age. Going down, it says video game violence does not constitute obscenity. So violence in video games is not. Porn would be obscene, but video games are not, even though it depicts a lot of gratuitous violence. I'm not saying we should ban violent video games. I love my violent video games. I like it a lot. I won't lie. I like Duke Nukem for that reason. The Supreme Court has resisted efforts to extend the rationale of obscenity to hardcore sexual betrayals and hardcore violence. The state of California sought to advocate the concept of violence as obscenity in defending its state law relating the sale or rental of violent video games to minors. The Supreme Court invalidated the law in Brown versus the Entertainment Merchants Association, or Brown v. SRB, as I call it, right? You see me talk about it a lot. Writing that violence is not part of the obscenity that the Constitution permits to be regulated. Federal obscenity prosecutions increased during the George Bush administration. States continue to pursue obscenity prosecution against hardcore pornography, but also against other materials. For example, in 1994, a comic artist was convicted of obscenity in Florida, and in 1999, the owner of a gay bar in Nebraska was successfully prosecuted for displaying a gay art in a basement. Although obscenity laws had their critics, they likely will remain part of the legal system and First Amendment jurisprudence. State obscenity prosecutions continued in the 21st century. In this light, Professor Jennifer Kinsley refers to the argument that obscenity laws is a thing of the past as the myth of obsolete obscenity. So there's your obscenity in the internet. Continuing on. Not going to cover this too much, but people call this the anime porn or the anime ban, whatever, in the state. And it was held in the Supreme Court. A lot of internet sites now, if you're in the state of Texas, you are now required to have, like, if you want to go porno, you have to make an account now. You have to verify that you're of age. Your right to privacy is being violated. And I understand they're thinking, like, well, if children access this, well, then I would look at the parent. I really would. If my son, my computer is locked when I'm offline, you have to know my code. My son does not know my code, and I change it about every month. Plus, my phone, he does not have my thumbprint. I use a biometric scanner on my phone. So I do a lot to protect my son from obscenity and this kind of content, but I like to enjoy it myself as an adult. Yeah, I said it. That being said, it is time to talk about PickAx. Now, as I've stated, right, they were very civil. They were very civil to me when I talked about them. I was actually surprised they responded to me. I was not expecting that. And, well, another thing I'm going to say is, well, let's just go and look at their terms of service. right? They say they're a free speech platform. That's what they say. Prohibited uses. You may not use the service for infringing on intellectual property, so copywriting, defaming and slandering. You can't do that. That's literally defamation is literally get outside First Amendment protections. You can't lie. You can't engage in fraud, which also defaming is lying, right? It's dishonesty. Sending unsolicited electronic mail, chain letters, unwanted spam. It's like, basically Fourth Amendment rights of privacy. You can't be doing that. Violating or attempting to violate the security or integrity of service provider, blah, blah, blah. Where's that? That's a mouthful. Violating any law, including without limitation of copyright law. So you can't violate copyright laws. You can't post anything that would violate the law of the land, the law, misusing the property information and property purposes. The exploitation of harming of minors. You can't do that, which obviously we all can agree to. We don't want to see children harmed. Totally fine with that, right? So far, so good, right? Asking for private information. You can't be doing that. Malware can't be done. Posting information that's not protected under the First Amendment of the Constitution. So this is what I want to point out here. Originally, it's not protected by the First Amendment of the Constitution. They're used to the First Amendment speech. All right. Now, if we go to Pickax, right? They say monetize on your terms, paywalls, revenue share, auto insert, affiliate links, promo codes. Also, no ads for no fun. It's just real income. Now, they say here they have no algorithms, no censorship, no AI overlords, right? I want y'all to remember that. All right. But going back to K, posting any information which is not protected in the First Amendment, including without limitation, posting or transmitting any unlawful, harmful, or threatening, abusive, harassing, vulgar, obscene, profane. So I can't swear. I would assume that's what that means. I can't swear on there. And I swear a lot. And a lot of gamers swear when we get mad. We do. Sexually explicit or pornographic material or otherwise objectionable material of any kind, which we have said. Vulgar, obscene, vulgar, not obscene, profane, sexually explicit, pornographic material, or objectionable material of any kind. That's we just pointed out that's free speech. So they have already said in their terms of service they're going to censor that. We're not allowed to do that. Right? So just pointing that out there. You can read in here furthermore. I'm not going to read this whole thing. It's a big word salad. I just want to point that out there. I do want to say they were very, I'm going to keep saying this, they were very polite and very respectful to me. So, shout out for that. Don't go over there and, I'm going to tell you right now, don't go over there and be a douche waffle, right? If you don't like the fact that they're saying they're a free speech server, don't see, because it's here, freedom of speech and freedom of reach. But we've already shown that they prohibited some things that like Gab did, like Gettr did, like True Social does, like Rumble does, like YouTube does, like X does. They do ban certain things of free speech, things that are under free speech. There are ways we could work that out. They don't have a filter. They don't have something to, apparently, I guess, or not. I don't know. But they apparently don't want to do that. So this is from Totally Not Lavistro, obviously. He's totally not Lavistro. He's on X. And he posted, or I posted, I need proof of bot control, natural growth, not manufactured growth from at Rumble Video, manufactured ad cards of its creators, and proof I want another social platform media account. How do I know it's not another Blue Sky, Buzz, or Truth/Gab? Convince me and I'll do your ad. I didn't expect to be contacted because they said, monetization on your server, paywalls. They kept saying, like, we're growing. And the crazy is because, let me hide this real quick so I can make sure this information is not shown out there. But I'm going to go to my Rumble Studio, see if I had the campaign in here. Okay, I do not have the thing here, but I'll just show you anyways. What real quick, let me show you here. So if you look on the side here, I'll show my thing. I mean, you could, if you have your own Rumble account, I'm not going to sit here and bitch about ads and blah blah blah. But one of our requirements in the Rumble Creator Program is once we get 10 viewers in our Rumble, we have to, at least do 5 ads. That's what it says here. Minimum viewership 10, and we can do the Rumble Premium ad. When I did my first ad, Rumble Premium showed up. I would have done the Rumble Premium because I have Rumble Premium. 1775 Coffee, BlockbusterHealth.com, which I felt was a scam. Another Blockbuster Health, I feel it's a scam again. I did the Caddis Sports, which is not here. They have gaming chairs, aim controllers, which I'm a gaming channel, so why did I get these, right? I'm not going to... Caddis Sports ad, another Caddis Sports ad, another scam. Please follow these exact scripts, which I'm not dealing with that. Gundry MD, join Entropy, another scam, Blockbuster Health. So I had to read one of these ads. All right, and one of those ads that showed up on there was Pickax. And I wish I had it in there because I want to use their exact words in the script. But if you watch people who might promote their content, right? They'll tell you that we don't use bots, and yet at the same time they use bots. They say they're a free speech platform. They are the new call whatever force free speech. Unfortunately, and I know there's gonna be a lot of people pissed off at me, and I'm pretty sure Pickax is probably not gonna follow me anymore once I point this out there and stuff. Right? But so they actually responded. And they said only verified accounts can ever trend, be recommended, or really be seen outside of intentionally going and looking up unverified accounts. Thus, there's not really a point to having bots since they can't manipulate our system platform. Sadly, from my experience, if there's a will, there's a way. You might as well say you're an anti-piracy, anti-piracy software like Denuvo. People still hack Denuvo within 72 hours. If there's a will, there's a way. People will find a way. So, very confident, okay, fine. As for a comparison between us and our platforms, we are bringing in a wide net of creators. Remember, Gettr was saying they're bringing in 40,000 people. They had Joe Rogan on their platform on Gettr, all that stuff, right? So we've heard that before. From all political backgrounds, again, Gettr said they had conservatives and liberals on Gettr, right? We're also bringing in people from different industries, including gaming, food, health, entertainment, sports, and more. The appeal isn't just having a cheap knockoff, but to have superior features that give you, the human and the creator, more of a voice and a better opportunity to earn revenue for our platform. Gab said that. Gab said they were superior. Gettr said they were superior. Truth has also said they're superior. Rumble has said they're superior. And we all know that each of these platforms, if we're being honest, each platform isn't perfect. They have a lot of quirks. We got Rumble integration where Rumble videos are playable in the news feed as if a native to the platform. We even have a beta feature where you can connect your channel for automatic posting of videos and live stream. You can write articles. As you can see from the lower left-hand corner, I multi-stream. I stream on Rumble. I do like Rumble, despite all my issues with it. I still like Rumble. I'm also streaming on YouTube, and they're all censors as fuck. And I used to stream on X until my actual account, Lavistro84, got locked out. Thank God I have an alt account where I'm not Lavistro. Anyways, and coming later this year, you can send email letters, build your email list, and you can take with you if you decide to go somewhere else. We're giving you your voice back and having a very human-centered social media platform. How do you know what my voice is? Right, that's a good question, right? How do you know what my voice is? Maybe my voice if I was in a political sphere, right? We're going to continue on, but We've seen Gettr say this. The Gettr CEO say this. We saw the Gab CEO say this. We saw the Rumble, like not in this video. Actually, we saw a letter from Rumble and all that stuff, right? Where they say these same things, that they're a free speech platform, they're better than everyone else. Okay, and they're still in beta, right? From what we saw here, well, I guess you can't see it, but if you look at the pickax.com /info/terms, you'll find out that they're in beta right now, beta launch. And yet we as content creators had to advertise, ads, and Pickax is one of the less few ads. But what I noticed on Pickax, and we're going to cover in here, is they say they have no bots, they're a free speech platform, but they use bots to moderate. They literally contradict themselves in their own script that I have to read as a content creator. I'm already skeptical. But like I said, since they were cordial and polite with me, I was cordial and polite back. Everyone likes to be treated with respect, and I'm going to respect them, even though I might not see eye to eye with them. So, Totally Lavistro 84 says, I need a verified account, as in show my ID or face or pay for it. What if I'm a VTuber? Also, what if I want to stream a game Rumble doesn't allow, but X does? What's your limitations of content? Will I have to censor myself, or will I have the ability to say my account isn't for kids? To be verified, you would have to submit your own ID. So right then and there, just like with YouTube, you have to show your ID. I think X does it too. I can't remember. You have to show your ID card, right? So we can verify name that you're over 18 and live in the U.S. We do not charge for verification. That's free. If you are a streamer and have a brand handle for that, please include the link in your profile so we can verify. We do not censor so long as it is legal and not pornographic. So they put that in there. It says it's legal and not pornographic. Pornographic is legal. It is. So already they're contradicting themselves. Freedom of speech. But we'll keep going. Those are our two restrictions. Outside that, we do not limit your content. So there are limitations in comparison to X when it comes to speech. I guess another parlor back before Twitter got it shut down, where anything but actual illegal content was allowed is too much to ask for. Okay. So the trade-off, how is your support? Because I'm locked out of X. I'm still waiting on support to send me a verification email 9 days later. And they agree. They say right here, yes, the main limitation that we implement on that X is a ban on pornography. I think they mean ban. A ban on pornography. Parliament got in trouble for not stopping illegal speech, such as violent threats. You have to prove it was a violent threat, for one. You have to prove the context of it, and I'll get into that in a little bit. So they're throwing shade at another company, just like Gab and Gettr did to each other, right? That we saw live on Timcast, right, from back in 2022. Just days apart from each other, they were throwing shade at each other. Our support is great. If you have an issue, you can email us at support@pickax.com, and we can help in any way. I have not tested this out because I don't have a Pickax account. All right. But I will say that when I tried to get X in support, they pretty much gave me a fuck off saying, yeah, your account's not restricted. I was like, then why can't I access my account? They have yet to respond to that. They have yet to send me a verification email to show I'm a bot. So that pisses me off on X, because I have to rebuild an alternative account, totally not Lavistro. And even though I'm not doing it to violate terms of service, it kind of feels like it, because I'm trying to communicate with everybody. I'm trying to find out what I need to do to fix this problem, because X isn't helping. And the last time I had an issue with X was I was trying to stream on X, and they changed their whole thing in the summer. I did not know about it. I sent the X support an email and never got a response until 30 days later, when I found out, 30 days after I found out they changed their whole program and I had to redo certain things. I says, wow, I sent this 30 days ago. So X support is not great. Here they say they have a support email. I haven't tested it out. But, there you go. There's a trade-off there. Actually, and I responded, they actually Parler reported illegal speech to authorities and locked accounts for it. So basically, and we see it here, right? We've talked about it here in our terms of service. This is updated in May, but it's still the same. for the most part from when I read it. Anyways, so basically another Gab truth, but unlike X, an actual support email with a valid ID verification system. Thank you for your responses in time. So I'm trying to be cordial response in my responses. They've been cordial with me, right? A Gabber truth if they had full integration with Rumble. So again, they're throwing shade at Gab. They're trying to distance themselves. Say, oh, we have Rumble, right? The ability to write and distribute articles and build up an email list. It's a newsletters or platform. So they're trying to tell me with all their bells and whistles. Again, yet I use X. Most of my viewers use X. I don't have a lot of viewers on a beta program PickAx. Not many people are going to go grab, in my personal opinion, a PickAx account. You have to sell them something, which is why they say they're a free speech platform. As we're learning, they limit free speech. As we learned, it's not illegal speech. Actually, one more question. We had the ability to connect our channels. What about Y2 or others so we can notify our viewers on your platform? You're saying we can integrate those as well? Other than AI moderation and censorship of legal speech, that's interesting. I believe I may have skipped that. Yeah, I did. Here, so going back, this is when they said the main limitations pornography thing. I made a double reply to him. I says, I also read your script requirements on Rumble, so you say no bots, but use bots to moderate, if I understand correctly. So it's AI moderated like YouTube is going. Sorry for all the questions. I'm being genuine here. Right? And they said, we don't use bots to moderate. We have technology implementing that catches sex nudity. Technology that moderates. They're redefining the word. So they're contradicting themselves here, in my personal opinion, and we'll get into that. And then for others, we currently use a reporting system. Nothing wrong with asking questions. So you have technology input. For understanding, you have an AI system. Yes, the system is set to detect pornography using AI and algorithms. So, wait. No algorithms. No censorship. No AI overlords. False advertising. I'm sorry, PickAx. You've been very cordial and respectful and professional, and I'm trying to be very professional as well. But I call a spade here. Okay, I'm going to call a spade. You just said you censor. You just told me you censored. You just told me you have an AI system, and you just told me you have an algorithm. You literally just told me that. Instead of using AI and algorithms. Detect pornography, using that, like literally, in one comment from our conversations, they literally contradicted their entire thing of no censorship, no AI, and no algorithms. They have an AI, they have bots, they have algorithms, and they detect pornography. And if I'm sounding like I'm aggravated here, it's because it is. Because when I read this, I felt like I was lied to. One of my things I hate, all right, is being lied to. I hate false advertising. I hate political doublespeak. I hate corporate speak. And I hate fucking lies because they're all fucking the same thing. And what did we see with Gettr when they asked the Gettr CEO on earlier in the video, what do we see the CEOs do when they ask them the hard questions? They danced around the topic. They didn't give a straight answer. They were trying to avoid it because they were afraid of getting sued for banning someone off a platform because the media said that person was of a certain group, and he didn't want to get busted for not being a free speech platform and banning someone because big corporate daddies, whatever, told him to do so or take a knee, in my opinion. Yes, they lied. They lied a lot. And you know what, Mikey, since you're here, let me put it. I posted in. This is why you check before you do anything. Yes, I added them at PickAx because I knew they were going to do this to prove a point. As I put here, Lavistro discusses his conversation, right, at PickAx Social, right? So I tagged them. I want them to know I'm talking about them. I really did. I want them to, not because it was giving me clout or views or anything like that. I wanted them to know because I'm going to if they're watching this, which I doubt it, but if they're watching this, I wanted to know why I don't consider them a free speech platform. And have I deviated from that? I showed y'all my views on this. I showed you my views on what free speech is as a veteran of the United States Army, as a parent, and as a freaking dragon. Yes, Lavistro is a fucking dragon. That's my freedom of speech. That's my freedom of expression. You saying I can't say I'm a dragon as Lavistro? Clearly, the voice that portrays Lavistro when he's out of character is not a fucking dragon. He's an actual fucking human with a male fucking voice, right? You don't know what I look like. I'd like to keep it that way because I have kids. I'm trying to protect my kids' privacy as much as possible. Because when I used to show my face, people actually found out where I live. Doxby sent a picture of me taking my baby son to a daycare and says, "That's a nice child you have. Shame something happens. You should probably focus on him and not politics." I went to the cops. The cops did nothing. So I keep myself hidden to protect my child, because if someone actually does harm my child or threaten to harm my child, and I found out for that person lived, let's just say there would be no Lavistro. Lavistro would be wearing an orange jumpsuit. And if the judge asked me words like, "Yes, I know I'm guilty of sin. I'm not condoning illegal acts, but I protected my kids, so damn right it's worth it." Wood chipper. Wood fucking chipper. Exactly, Mikey, exactly. You have a right to your privacy. But anyways, what I'm saying is they retweeted that, which kind of doesn't help them out. Obviously, I've only got 2 views on Rumble and YouTube, but they said, "Oh, he's promoting us because everyone else is promoting us." Sorry, Pickax, I'm not promoting you. I'm not endorsing you at all. I am being very respectful as I can, but because I did that, you followed me, because our conversation, I'm talking about, you might want to know what you're doing, because I already said I don't endorse it. I don't endorse you, which we'll show in there. But no, going back. Where's that? So I tell them I tell them I was trying to end it. I tell them, "Thank you for your time, not for me. Wish you well, but I'll be sure to let people know you are an option and your limitations and features based on our conversation truthfully." Have I lied? You let me know, chat. And if you're watching this on replay and you're like, "No, leave Daddy Corporal Pickaxe alone," show me where I lied. I showed you my context that I understand as I understand it. I showed you they're just like every other platform out there, selling you something and lying about it. Show me where I'm lying. I want you to show me. No? Okay. I probably lost a lot of viewers. I probably got some dislikes. I don't know. Don't fucking care. Because dislikes are engagement. And people are going to wonder, why is this video being disliked talking about Pickaxe? Now, either they're going to share it and not watch it, as some people do, like Pickaxe did, or they're going to watch it and either agree or disagree, right? So I told them, "Thank you for your time, not for me. Wish you well, but I'd be sure to let you know there's any limitations. I'm not a fan of censorship or AI moderation of content. I don't want to worry if my streams violate TOS." All right. Now we're going to go back. All right. So we go back here. Asshole. Fucking Mikey. I said, "Actually, one more question." You said, because they responded to me, and I said, "You know what? Since they responded, I'm going to go ahead and continue on," because this came after that last post I posted or read. "Actually, one more question. You said we had the ability to connect our channels, bells and whistles. You're saying we can integrate all this as well, other than AI moderation and legal censorship of legal speech. It's interesting." And it is interesting. Like, I would like to integrate all my channels. Like, I have a hard time announcing my Rumble videos on a bot through my Discord, right? I have a Discord. I have Me6. Me6 doesn't have Rumble integration. It has Kick. It has YouTube. I'm still trying to figure out how to get the Rumble bot to fucking work on Discord. I don't think it can. If someone has a Rumble bot that can work on Discord, that'd be awesome. I'd like to announce, people's Discords or even mine. People's Rumbles or even mine. I want to have options. So anyways, YouTube videos are playable in our newsfeed as our Spotify, Apple podcast, but we only set up connect with your Rumble channel for auto posting. So I asked, it was kind of an interesting question. You had the Rumble, but I can't auto integrate YouTube or Spotify or Apple, which I don't use. I don't use Spotify or Apple podcasts. So I says, what stops you from auto posting from YouTube and others? What about Discord integration? If you don't mind me asking, are you working on those? Will these be features in the future? We're open to anything. We're leaning heavily on Rumble because of their dedication to free speech, which we found out they have a hate speech policy, which is free speech. They have a no porn policy, which is free speech. So Rumble's not a free speech. They're freer speech, but with that, they still arbitrarily decide what would be considered free speech to their platform. I had no problem with this. I have a problem with calling yourself a free speech platform if you don't actually engage in free speech. YouTube has banned a lot of our users, including our CEO, so we aren't really motivated to try to forge a relationship. We're open to other opportunities for sure. And that's the thing. This is tribal politics. All right. If you're open, you contradict yourself. You say you're open to anything, but not motivated to do so because you got banned off YouTube. Well, I unfortunately don't know your CEO. I really don't care. Could he have gotten banned for something he did that violated terms of service? That would be horseshit. Yes, we've seen this. I'll agree, right? That's common knowledge. But from what we're seeing about them lying, how do we know they're not lying about this? And he wasn't banned for violating YouTube's terms of service. That was horseshit, but actually terms of service violations. Like, for example, I don't know, saying a racial slur. Yeah, I think the same thing. I wish them well. I will be surprised if they grow. But that I think they learn from Gettr and Gab, right? They say the same things that Gab and Gettr are saying, but they're leaning on Rumble because Rumble's growing, and because of that, they probably worked out a deal because they're corporations. Because what's Rumble get out of this? Well, first off, they get integration with PickAx, a platform that's a high risk. I mean, yeah, you say it's a new platform, they get to be in there, but it's still high risk. You're a new platform. You're still in beta. You're saying you have millions of users. I haven't used it. I'll be perfectly honest. But then Rumble starts all of a sudden. August 1st comes out with new things saying ads, and one of the ads is PickAx. We have to say 5 ads, and one of them is PickAx. Which I also state that I'm not a political channel, so I won't grow as fast on Rumble. I still love the community. Mikey loves the community. He's in Rumble a lot. Tommy's in there. As much as I disagree with her on some things, Toasty with the Mostie's in there. Hypnotic's in there. I mod for him over there as well. Furious Dan. Yarnwitch. Uncle Martin Sucks at Gaming. He's also over there. Abe, Darmouth. You name the people on Rumble. Let me see this right here. Admiral Smooth Rod. I want to like he's new. I haven't. Well, he's not new, but he's new to me. I only met him not too long ago. So there's lots of Rumble creators out there, right? Great people, and Rumble does listen to its community for the most part. They listen to the complaints and suggestions, and they make fixes and stuff like that. Yeah, Sunker Maidens, yeah, as well. but Rumble's not the best thing since sliced bread. But they're growing. They're becoming. They've found a niche that people are like, okay, we will trade off the ability to post hate, say certain words and certain content that they're lax on enforcing, but they still have them. So whenever they had to, worry and protect their brand, they could actually enforce it. So one day, Mikey and myself and others probably will be banned on Rumble. I would not be surprised on this. But this is why you read the terms of service. But since Rumble's growing, Pickax is hitching off of them. But what does Rumble get out of all that? They're doing all the ad work. They're literally getting all their creators to come out there, post 5 ads. One was Pickax, and Pickax lies. But I'm going to point this out because he put it 2 hours ago, like right before I started streaming, or a little while before I started streaming. I do want to point out they don't ban hate speech or offensive speech. So you can go out there, from what they're saying here, you can go out there and say drop the N-bomb. Right? You can go out there and say the N-bomb. You can tell them to go get fucked. Right? You can say that. You can say a lot of offensive and hate speech. Only illegal speech and pornographic content is not allowed. So that's the trade-off. On X, there's a guy. I'm not sure if I got his name right, and it's because it's not because I'm trying to be serious. I actually have I'm horrible with names unless I see the name constantly. But there's a guy that posts anti-Semitic memes and posts. Kawusha's Top Gal, I think it was. I could even have the creator wrong who's posting this but it's on my old feed. I literally would have to see it from my old feed, from Lavistro 804, which I'm locked out of. Otherwise, I'd show it. But he posts anti-Semitic comments. I see people talking about things, and they say Jews are responsible for all the world wars and all that stuff. They say all these crazy hate speech stuff on X, even though X has a hate speech policy. And get away with it. Like I said, am very snarky, say whatever I want to fucking say, and I have yet to get banned. Let me put it this way. Let's go to let's go to my home. Go to my home page here. You don't need those fake nails and highlights there. You got money for popsicles, so that would be considered offensive to some people. Because you got fake nails. Let's see. Oh, look. I posted a thing where someone grabbed a woman's, Sonya's bikini armor top. That would be considered offensive. Someone could even argue that's porn, even though her boobs are covered by her hand. Domino's Pizza starts with N. We all love it. I emphasize that it might be the N-bomb. There we go. I posted a thing about a dildo. I mean, you scroll down, or you watch my stuff. I'm not going to do the whole thing. But I don't say anything that yet has got me off of X. I stream to X. I guarantee you, if I wanted to stream, Mikey, help me out here. Give me a title I can say on YouTube. Whatever title Mikey comes up with on X as a game, and I guarantee you, I won't get banned off of X for it. I will get banned if I play something that's considered hate speech. So there's your trade-off, right? Rumble, if you want to drop the N-bomb every time, Pickax is for you. You can do that. If you want to play a game like Duke Nukem, which has topless babes in there we go. Let's say I want to play this game that Mikey is posting out here, because he knows a lot of games. He has a lot of games knowledge, right? On X, I could do that, but on Pickax, I can't. If I want to play Duke Nukem, I can't, because in Duke Nukem there's topless babes in the levels and some on the walls. You go to a strip club, you get to see strippers doing strip dances and lap dances, all that stuff in Duke Nukem. I don't think Pickaxe would let me do that. I don't think Pickaxe would let me play Witcher 2 or 3. And that's a dangerous precedent for me. I was like, I understand that it's like, well, think of the children. Well, your church service says you have to be of 18 years old. If you're at least 18 years of age, that means you can see that content. You don't want to see that content, then Pickaxe should provide a filter. And anyone uploading content like that should probably say, or put it on their channel, I'm not a safe for work channel. That way you don't have to see it. That's literally why when I was on X, Lavistro 84 literally has the no 18 logo on it. Because to me that registers as the NSFW icon. I'm not someone that minors should follow, because I know there are minors who make X accounts even though they're not supposed to. There are minors who are going to make Pickaxe accounts even though they're not supposed to. There are minors making Rumble accounts, YouTube accounts even though they're not supposed to. So whose fault is that for not enforcing that? That's the parents. So I do everything on my end to say, hey, I'm not meant for kids, because I swear, because I play games that have gratuitous violence, because I play games that might have titties in them. God forbid a woman has big titties. That's free speech. I'm not saying I want to go out there and play porn games all the time, but just as that video I posted, I'll throw in a, you know what? I forgot to upload it, so we're gonna do this live. Hold on. It's my favorite video.
See.
Yes. But I don't recommend Pickaxe. I'm sorry to say, because they lied. They use AI. They use bots for moderation, even though they say they're so bots their platform. They say they're free speech when they're not free speech. They're freer speech. They allow you to say hate speech. All right. And I didn't realize Parler was still on, but from reading from Parler's terms of service, I would say Parler is probably a little better. And that's just from my memory of being on Parler back before Dorsey's Twitter had it shut down. Just pointing that out there, right? Just pointing that out there. Now you could go ahead and join Pickaxe all you want. I'm not gonna tell you not to. But just remember, if you play a game and they slip a nipple, and you didn't know that game's gonna have it in there, Pickaxe might ban you for that, based on the fact that they want pornography. Me personally, I'm not joining Pickaxe. I don't endorse it. I'm not gonna read their ad. I'm not gonna follow them back. I wish them well, but I think they're gonna go the way of Gettr and Gab. I have not heard from Gettr and Gab for years. Now, that's probably because I'm a normie and I'm not into politics. But I guarantee you there's probably people who are in right-wing politics or even left-wing politics that have those things. They're like, well, we hear it all the time. Well, yeah, well, I'm not political. I don't take a tribal side. And as a person who plays games that has a lot of big boobs and everything else, and that's something that's in all kinds of mediums, sports, books, movies, TV shows, anime. It should echo. It should definitely echo. They're in the sewers. It's for your immersion, Mikey. But my point is like, they say all these things. Offer all these bells and whistles. But you're just going to have to ask yourself and choose, which corporal will I support? What am I willing to compromise and sacrifice? Pickaxe offers you to drop the N-bomb and use your Rumble videos. Automatically integrate your Rumble videos. It won't automatically integrate YouTube, even and they have no motivation to do so. Their words. They say they have no AI overlords or algorithms, but they use AI and algorithms to censor porn. Therefore, there is censorship on Pickaxe. And I guarantee you there's quite a few people that are going to unsubscribe from me and say that I'm wrong. Well, you can go to my account. You can go to my account right now. And I showed you what they said. My questions. Which, like I said, I was very surprised they answered my questions. And they got something from it. They got a whole video about them. Good job, Pickax. I didn't do an ad for you, but I gave you a whole video and my thoughts on what free speech is. Yes, and every platform, you're right, Mikey, every platform has some sort of AI system. Yes. But that being said, just what they say, yes. And it's a sales gimmick. And to me, it's false advertising. They literally just told me they have AI algorithms when their file says they don't. They literally just said they censor when they say they're free. They literally say they're a free speech platform with no censorship. They're trying to get content creators on their system, so they show me everything that is for a content creator, even though I say I'm totally not Lavistro, right? What do they have for the regular Joe who's not a content creator? They need me to come on their platform, hoping that my viewers, my barely 500 followers, will follow them. Some of them might, because they go from other circles. If we go on Pickaxe, and I'm not judging these people, all right? But like, for example, Lethal Panda, Solely Switch, Comics Dead, Oscar Guy, Tomby, Mega Moo, 32, Eternal Spartan, Silver Fox, Vaping Gamers, Rumble Gaming Ambassador, Casey, Punch TV. Some of these people I follow, right? Even Rumble Video follows them. Another the CEO of another corporation, or I forget what he does, product management. So, anyways, he follows them, right? But from what I'm seeing, right, most people that follow him are partisans who are going to shut their brain and do whatever the tribe tells them to do and think. So basically, just like the left. This is why I say everyone's to the left of me, because everyone's on the fucking tribe. My oath said I was sworn to uphold and defend the Constitution from enemies, foreign and domestic. I'm not calling Pickaxe an enemy here, but censorship is an enemy to the Constitution. I wish him well. And I'm going to wrap this up and say, yeah, PickAx has algorithms. They said so. They have censorship. They said so. And they have AI overlords who will be used to determine if your content is pornographic and should be removed. Their AI dictates what you can and cannot do. So I can't endorse them. I'm sorry. It's totally not. It's like I said, it's not for me. But they were respectful. I will say that they were very respectful, very professional. And if you feel like you can trade porn, being able to have full speech and be able to say whatever you want, rub yellow jello on yourself, and run out there, read a Playboy magazine or whatever, at the cost of at least being able to drop the N word and not get banned for that, go right ahead to Pickaxe. Me personally, I'm staying with Rumble, YouTube, and X. Because the more apps I have, the more I have to manage. Less is more. Pickaxe, to me, it's not worth it, and I do believe they're going to fail. Because they have manufactured advertising. Manufactured. You're relying on Rumble content creators to grow. You're relying on Rumble to use their Rumble program to grow, which I find very scummy. But that being said, shout out to everyone who's watching. Sorry it's so long. Like I said, it was not an easy video to cover for me. I was trying to make this a short and sweet video, and I can't sit there and say yes, this is the next best thing since sliced bread. Because during our conversations, I remember the Timcast episodes. I remember the Gettr CEO. I remember the Gab CEO, all promoting censorship, and Tim Poe calling them out on that. And in some cases, they flipped out. Or they don't give a straight answer. Or they double speak. I remember the truths.social terms of service, which is why I didn't go in there. I remember what I want, Rumble and Pickax, if you are watching, I'm going to say right now, you give me Parler's terms of service on your thing. You give me Parler's, where the only thing that's illegal is, the only thing that's not allowed on your platform is actual illegal speech. Things that are literally outside First Amendment protections. You give me that, I will sing your praises all day, because I am totally against censorship. I'm not a free speech absolutionist, because free speech absolutionists don't realize that when you say something illegal and incriminating, you're violating another person's rights. That's why we have laws to protect people's rights. But if someone wants to have a talk, what if I want to talk about the statue of David, and I show an image of his wing? Someone could consider that pornographic and shoot me down, shut my stream down. Because I like Western culture, and sometimes I like to discuss history, just like I'm ranting now. What about that? You're going to say that's pornographic because his wings out, his doodle's out? What if I want to talk about Custer's Revenge and why it was a controversial game, and I show gameplay to give the audience a reason why people were offended by it? What if I want to talk about Death Race, another censored game, back in the 70s, by a government organization nonetheless? As for you, viewer, I'm going to say good night. This is why you should never total the party line and use your brain to think. And as I part, I will definitely add the media, add the video again, and then go straight into.
You're still here. What? You thought there'd be a post-credit scene or something? This isn't a Disney movie. Show's over. Go get some sleep. Play a video game. Watch another YouTube video. I gotta take care of the Dragon Wing and possibly get some sleep myself. Goodbye all, and thanks for watching. And happy gaming.